Fala pessoal, hoje eu tô aqui com o Abaxial, antigo técnico da INTZ, atual técnico da RED Canids, e a partir de agora eu só vou falar em inglês, porque obviamente é assim que a entrevista deve ser conduzida com ele, porque ele é americano. Se as legendas não estão ativadas, ative agora aqui embaixo e vamos começar. Hello man, how are you?
I'm great, thank you very much.
Thank you for giving us this interview, it's a pleasure to have you here.
You too.
So, to begin our talk, I'd like to talk about your experience, man. You're a coach with a huge amount of experience on the Brazilian scene. In your 2.5 years in charge of INTZ, you've got a huge amount of titles here in Brazil. You've been to several international competitions, which you've been the champion of one, if there is such a thing for the last international wildcard. And you've been to Worlds. How can all this experience add to RED Canids?
What I am doing with RED Canids is I am trying to teach them the game in a clear and consistent manner that can be applied to many different metas, many different situations. I'm trying to give them a way to think about the game in, an easier way.
I see.
It's about being able to see a situation, figure out what's happened before, what's going to happen again, and then being able to apply it again, being able to use the same words, just being able to understand what's going on with less effort.
I see. That fits your temporary status, since it's very much general work that you do there, right? It's not something so specific, so focused on a specific player. It's more of a team mindset thing.
Well, I've helped them with a few small things, just like watching them in solo queue, a little bit of detail work. But yes, my goal has been on the big picture, helping them think about the game, something that, regardless of how long I stay, that I think will be useful to them, for the rest of their career.
I see. So, being a bit more objective here, what do you expect for RED Canids? How do you see the players today, and how good do you intend to leave them after you part ways with the team?
Well, I think they have a decent amount of talent, and see, the way things work here in Brazil is that the people who have risen to the top are the players who are really good at figuring stuff out on their own. They just see the game and it makes sense like the first couple times. But for other people, they kind of need a little bit of help. They need to be pointed in the right direction. But that doesn't mean they're necessarily worse or that they, can't be just as good one day. So, how good can they be next year? I don't know, but I think they can certainly be a pretty good team.
I see. Let's not make any bets, right? Because it's very open. We don't know how the other teams are going to be. Now, you mentioned on an interview you gave to ESPN, I think, long periods of isolation and loneliness back at INTZ due to the linguistic barrier. And since RED Canids is also a Brazilian team, how are you dealing with this situation?
Well, so far they've been very open and accommodating. Not that, not that I didn't have a good relationship with the players at INTZ. Obviously, I did, but it just was an inevitable thing that would happen.
Yes.
It's a new environment. I encounter new things in the day, so that keeps it interesting. But outside of that, I still obviously haven't decided my long-term plans. This is an opportunity for me to keep myself active, keep myself developing as a coach. In the process of explaining how I think about certain things to Red, I've changed some of my wording, I've changed a few things. I've even developed a few new things. So I have improved myself as a coach, even just in the couple of days
Mm-hmm.
I've been working with them, and that is regardless of whatever happens or regardless of what kind of environment I want long term. That's been useful to me. So it's been good.
I see. It must be really weird for both of you, Red Canids and you personally, since you've been at INTZ for such a long time, and at the same time they have had Neki with them for a very long time. So it's a big change for the both parts. Do you agree?
I think so. Obviously, Red have had you know roster swaps periodically.
Yes.
The only two players left from the original team now are Sussy and Brucer.
Yes.
Everyone else has changed over time, but it is very different. I have to start a lot of things from scratch. I I had certain understandings with the other team about, oh, this is what we think about this, or this is how we want to talk about this, so on and so forth. And I don't have that here. I have to develop it. I have to rebuild it, which again, that the process of doing that has been useful to me.
I hope you're successful at building this new bridge with new players. But now talking about your career a bit more focused on that. Considering your successful campaign at Worlds, well, it's not easy to beat a DG, I suppose. Um, do you think a lot of offers from both North American and European teams are going to reach you? Have they reached you already?
Yes, I can't tell you which teams, but I
Yeah.
have been in contact with a couple. However, these things take time. I'm trying to be careful. I'm trying to really make sure I get something that's good for me long term. Um, yeah. Also, I wouldn't say the run at Worlds was that successful. I think we could have gotten out of the group if we had done things differently, or we had managed to fix a few more problems before getting up on stage. But
Well,
stuff happens.
considering Brazil's previous campaigns at Worlds, it's the biggest opponent that we beat. Because before we beat Europe, we beat LMS, and we beat. Oh my god, I forgot the second team that Pain beat last year.
CLG from the United
CLG,
States.
yes, North America. So China is considered a better region than all of those regions. So despite not being able to win more games than Pain did, for example, you did beat an opponent that was considered better than those regions. Do you agree?
They are, but I don't really think of it as like good region, bad region. I think of it as good teams and bad teams.
I
And I
see.
mean, EDG are certainly a good team in some regards, but I mean, it's complicated. The level of the competition at Worlds is both closer and further than you would think. I mean, there's a lot of only so-so players on those teams. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things that they do that aren't really that exceptional. Um, but on the other hand, there are certain things that are exceptional, and that's why they managed to get there. But like when it comes to scrims, for example, like everyone beats everyone. We INTZ beat teams from every region, yes, including Korea. Um, but that doesn't mean we were set to win worlds.
Yeah.
It's complicated. So, well, I thank you for the praise. I don't think beating EDG one time is necessarily that big an accomplishment.
I see. Well, the thing you said about screams, they don't mean that much because we all got to know that CNB was doing pretty well at screams the first split this year, and yet they got beat by a lot of teams. They were 0-9 on games on CBLOL the first split this year. So yeah, while screams help you improve, they don't mean everything, right?
Right.
Well, moving on. In case the international offers that you mentioned are not satisfactory, do you consider staying in Brazil? And I'd like you to talk about your relation to Brazil, the country itself, and the crowd, because you seem to be a very well liked guy. People call you abacaxi, pineapple, or magician. I'd like to tell you your view on this relationship.
Sure. I would absolutely consider staying in Brazil. I think the fans are very nice to me. When I announced I was leaving INTZ, there were some people who were unhappy, but
Yeah.
the majority of messages I got, through Twitter and Facebook were, "Hey, thank you for this. Thank you for helping Brazil. Good luck, so and so." So that was kind. I got like a great many like that. Um, and I have friends here. I know how to enjoy myself at least to some degree here, and it's familiar to some degree.
I see.
Uh, so, yeah, sure. If there just aren't good offers, then there's a good chance I would stay in Brazil.
Well, I believe a lot of Brazilian teams must be after you, since, if I'm not mistaken, you are the most successful coach ever in Brazil, and the one who has worked for with the same team for the longest period of time. Is that right?
Um, I believe Mitt started on with Pain about 2 months before
Oh,
or maybe a little bit longer before I joined INTZ, because in the spring last year, I only joined INTZ in like March of that year, whereas he had started from a little bit earlier and had been with them the whole split. I only joined for the playoffs. So I think Mitt has been tenured longer than me. I think maybe Joko has been too. I'm not sure exactly,
I don't think
but
so.
okay. Um, but yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, Red reached out to me. Obviously, I'm here with Red right
Yeah.
now, um, and I would like to think I have a good reputation.
Well, you are the most victorious one, at least.
Okay.
Well, we are on the postseason time, and it's very common in Brazil for us to have a lot of changes on rosters. And I would like your opinion on that. Do you think we can fill our gaps, because there are a lot of gaps right now, with our own national talent, or do you think we'll reach out to foreign regions, Korea, Europe?
Uh, that's complicated. I haven't heard too many rumors. I'm not that much of a gossip person. But can can it be filled? Well, I think imports can be a benefit from a game knowledge perspective. When it comes to the notion of talent, this is really complicated. But I think that Brazilian talent certainly exists. There's too many players in Brazil for it to not exist, unless you're going to start assuming that talent is genetic, which, or at
I
least,
doubt.
is racially,
Yeah,
genetic, which I'm gonna say I don't think so.
me
I
neither.
mean, we don't know enough about esports talent, anyways, to make that kind of judgment. But developing it from solo queue or sort of not as successful players is that's something else, because yes, there are a lot of players in Brazil that you look at and they just kind of seem bad, because like I said earlier, these are players that haven't figured out how to get better on their own. They haven't figured out how to push themselves. Um, they don't haven't learned certain things. Some of them even just have flat out bad mechanics, but or bad wave control or bad
Hmm.
decision making. But I think in many cases it's just because they play against people with all of these attributes, and so it's like this never-ending cycle. You play against players with bad mechanics. You're not challenged to improve your own mechanics. You don't realize what is possible. When my players went to Europe, they all improved mechanically, and when they scrim against players at Worlds too.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just like I didn't know this mechanical level existed.
Well,
But then they play for like a week or two against it. And it's like, okay, I have my own style. I can find a way to play against these kinds of players. So that's a kind of development that needs to occur for this talent to be, visible. I think that there's a lot of sort of invisible talent in solo queue. Players that you wouldn't think they're good based on what you can see from them. Maybe it's just like some mono Master Yi jungle where you could actually be a very good player, but he just plays Master Yi jungle and he just like plays the game without like thinking about it. You just play to play, and you play against other people who play to play.
I know
That's
some people
probably-
like that.
Yeah. So that's how I see it. So back to the original thing. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some imports. But whether Brazilian talent could fill those holes, I think yes it can, but whether it can be guided appropriately, that's another matter.
That leads us to the next and last question of our interview. Well, you are a foreigner to Brazil and you are a coach. That's, I believe, the only successful case of a foreigner coming to the coaching staff of a team. I mean, at least presentially. We've had some examples with John Payne's analyst last year, and there was also a guy from Kabum, I believe, the head coach. He was also Korean,
Hater.
I think. Yes. But
He was from the United States. I think he's actually of Chinese
Oh.
origin, but I'm not sure.
oh, okay.
But yes, he was from the outside.
Yes. Do you see? Do you think that will import a lot of coaches or analysts or people working for the coaching staff? Because our first import as a player that made a huge difference in Brazil was Winged back in 2014. He joined Cade as a jungler, and he basically changed the way we play the jungle. I believe, well, forget what I believe. I want to know your opinion on the input that a Korean coach or a Korean analyst could do. Do you think he could revolution the way we do the coaching stuff, like Winged did to the jungle?
No.
Why not?
I don't think Korean coaches are that special.
Okay.
Controversial statement. I think they have a higher average level than coaches you would find in other regions, but there's still like a lot of kind of not so good coaches hanging around in other regions, like I think like Europe, for example.
I see.
Not gonna name people who I think, but there's a few. But like when it comes to Korea, we have a saying in English that maybe that has an equivalent in Portuguese, that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Mm-hmm.
That it's about everything coming together. That it's not just about the coaches. It's not just about the talent and the players. It's not just about the culture. It's everything works together. And so I think that Korean coaches would not. I mean, they would have some success in Brazil, but they would have to learn how to work with Brazilian players. And obviously the language barrier, as I have experienced, is quite the task to overcome. But it's already happened. There are a ton of Korean coaches in China, but the only one you might have heard of is Rapid Star.
Yes.
There's a Korean guy that works with Royal Club as well. But overall, there's a lot of Korean coaches in China who have accomplished just about nothing. So, you have to learn to work within whatever restrictions you have in your environment. And I don't know if these Korean coaches would be able to do that. I think that everything else that they get to work with in terms of like the Korean work ethic and culture helps them a lot. The you have to work within the restrictions of wherever you're working. That's something I think I managed to do. I've decided to look around for a different environment, but no matter where I go, there will always be restrictions, and
Yes.
it's just a part of how things are.
I see. Well, to finish really now, do you think the gap is closing?
Controversial. Yes, but only in a few ways, only from a few people.
I see.
I think there's a lot of individual players who can compete now, but I think there's only a couple players and a couple like coaches who are really pushing strategy in the correct way to where they can actually compete. I think they exist, but again, only a few. I think the regions as a whole are not developing that well strategically.
Okay. Well, thank you a lot for the interview. I wish you the best of success at RED Canids or whatever other team you may join after RED. And that's it. Would you
All
like to
right.
leave a message for your friends here in Brazil, maybe abroad?
Well, thank you to all of my current fans, possibly new fans from Red or any other team. I know it's been a little sad about me leaving INTZ, even though it was a very clear decision to me over what I was going to do. At the same time, it wasn't easy. It was still a very heavy decision for me to make. So, but that's just you have to make these kinds of decisions in life, and I'm just doing what's best for me, what I think will help me be the best person, the best coach. You read the post. I just want to be the most I can be, and so I have to follow that. Other than that, if I do leave Brazil, then thank you for all the good times. Thank you for all the support. I think Brazilian fans are special. The interaction we have here with fans in Brazil is, I think it's just a little bit different and just a little bit closer than it is in other regions. So that's something special.
Yeah. Well, if you do leave, I want you to know that I think I talk for all Brazilians that it has been a pleasure to have you here.
You're welcome.
Well, now, thank you again. E foi isso, galera. A gente vai ficando por aqui. Se você gostou desse vídeo, curte, compartilha, comenta. E é isso aí. Até a próxima. Bye, bye.
Bye bye.